So let me introduce myself. My name is Laura, and I'm principal at Gate.io Ventures, the venture arm of Gate.io Exchange. And we're a venture fund investing in DeFi infrastructure, layer ones, Bitcoin ecosystem. And today we have an amazing fireside chat with, I would say, one of the most brilliant minds from RWA. Kai, why don't you introduce yourself?
Laura, thank you for the kind introduction. So my name is Ekin Gultepe. I'm the general manager of Mantra. We are the leading L1 blockchain solution for RWA tokenization. So basically, we work really hard to bridge the gap between the traditional finance and DeFi by enabling new opportunities and innovation to really consolidate finance together and make it inclusive for everyone. So we really put critical, remarkable goals for this year. One of them being already achieved. We have successfully launched our mainnet 2 months ago. And now we are heavily focused on growing our ecosystem, which means bringing institutional investment, bringing valuable assets, and of course, onboarding valuable decentralized applications. So it's very exciting time for us. And that's us, Mantra and myself.
Awesome. Thank you for the great introduction. So let's talk RWAs. RWA became like a buzzword throughout this 2024. Everyone's saying RWA is the next big thing. That's a big narrative. There are so many players billing about it, and that's going to be the gateway for institutions to come from Web 2 to Web 3. So can you tell more for us, for the audience, how does RWA actually empower that institutional adoption of Web3?
So basically, yeah, we are living in a season where the narrative is strongly around layer ones and RWAs. And obviously, this became a buzz because of the major focus on institutional investors, right? When we look at it, such as JP Morgan, BlackRock, these are all having their private blockchains to bring their operation on chain to become more scalable, reduce the operational costs, and all that good stuff. So how about we bring this permissionless on a chain where everybody can enjoy the privileges once exclusive to institutional investors or privileged minorities. So of course we see RWA and of course the derivatives comes around that, not just a tool of a financial instrument, but actually as a tool that gives access to a more sophisticated financial strategies, which again once only exclusive to institutional investors. So there are
stop you a second. Can you give some examples of these more sophisticated strategies and tools that institutions are looking for, and maybe something that people here in the audience can learn and maybe implement in their businesses?
So of course, for example, I give you a case from our works. We are partnering up with a bunch of good institutional investors to bring their assets on chain. So we are in the first layer of this adaptation. So what we do is, for example, let's give an example for a real estate. So a real estate fund that has a huge portfolio can leverage the benefits of tokenization and fractionalization of these real estates, putting on chain, and then these tokens, which are represented by the real value, can be used for a private credit, for many other derivatives that can be leveraged to get much more interesting financial instruments, right? So we are already tokenizing aircrafts, right? So which is
How
very
does it work?
interesting.
How do you monetize aircraft?
Laura, there's a magic sauce. I can't say everything, right?
Give us a little bit of the secret. Give us at least a few ingredients.
So at the moment, of course, we are highly limited and compliant with the regulatory framework. But that's being said, obviously, for example, we can create an SPV that owns the aircraft, which would be tokenized according to the needs of the asset owners and the market, and that can be brought on chain on a vault, and interesting incentives can be offered for the potential investors to invest in this world by owning a piece of an aircraft. How cool is that, right? And where I see the opportunity is, bull seasons come and go. People are very excited. It usually happens like 4 seasons, once in every 4 years. But what do you do with your gains, right? Either you off-ramp it, you buy a house, you buy a car, you invest in other things. But how about we create a world of a diversified financial instruments, such as owning a piece of an aircraft, owning a piece of a real estate, getting invested in a hardly accessible money market funds. So your stable coins can never sleep. Even if it's a beer season, this would be diversifiedly invested, and you would have stable income, dividends, and also much bigger than that. So actually, we keep all these special financial instruments within the ecosystem and democratizing it by offering to mass majority of the people. And I think this is a huge liberalization, and also considering certain parts of the world, they don't even have an access to basic banking. And how revolutionizing is that?
Very interesting point of making sure your money works all the time. Doesn't matter the season where you're asleep. But people in crypto industry are, in a sense, spoiled. They see these amazing APYs that some protocols are giving, like 50, 60% APY, sometimes even higher. How do you compete with that, where I assume in real estate, in like fractionalizing an aircraft, that's going to be what, 10, 15%? How do you still stay competitive even though the yield is much lower?
Look, I think this is the appetite of risk-taking, right? We have to know that the crazier interest and the returns are, the riskier the business is. So that's being said, I believe in order to bring the mass adaptation for RWAs, maybe more sexy, more interesting, more popular product offerings needs to come on chain. We can't do that just offering like US Treasury bills or, like, as you said, boring returns, but structuring very interesting RWA projects. For example, I would say intellectual property rights would be one of them. How about owning a fractionalized rights of your favorite singer or movie star?
How do you fractionalize that?
Okay. Well, obviously,
you're digging yourself a hole here. Everything he says is going to be used
Laura,
against him for more questions.
I can't explain every single thing here, otherwise we're going to drain with the competition. Like, jokes aside, obviously there is lots of different technical approaches, but overall, honestly, the first layer of this innovation is bringing institutional investors and high-value asset owners on-chain. So how do we do that? First, you have to build a dedicated blockchain to solve their problems, right? What are the problems? Security, regulatory compliance, and accessibility, right? Scalability are the key verticals. So that's being said, we are offering, for example, an infrastructure that your valuable assets are safe, that we are only one phone call away. And having that feeling of trust is very important for this transition, right? And the second layer comes exactly what you're asking. So with these assets on chain, we need to evangelize developers, ecosystem participants, such as entrepreneurs, to bring their dApps to build interesting smart contracts, right? To build interesting tools and modules to leverage from these assets already tokenized and create some interesting financial instruments that would attract overall mass majority and the spoiled crypto crowd that would love to get very high returns. And I think we are putting all our horses on this to revolutionize the system. So,
as an investor with more than 50 projects in my portfolio, I come across a lot of layer ones. Like, it's definitely a layer one season. And I always ask the same question: why do we need another layer one rather than choosing existing ones like Solana, Aptos, a great institutional layer ones. Bear Chain, if you're looking more into memes, like there are a lot of really good layer ones that you can build, layer 2 on top. Why you're developing your own that is very costly and really hard, especially in terms of like security and scalability?
So, like, that's a great question that we always get. First, it's our choice to build a layer one dedicated for RWAs. So, on a protocol layer, we are building lots of dedicated tools and modules such as decentralized ID verification, KYC tools, a lot of smart contracts and regulatory compliance tools that are uniquely dedicated for the RWA space. I don't know if there's any project really highly focusing on specifically this niche area. And this layer one, which we are building on a Cosmos SDK, that brings us also interoperability. In that being said, we believe in the huge unification of blockchains later on, which we can discuss about the pain point around the liquidity, liquidity fragmentation. But that being said, as a layer one, we want to focus on building the ecosystem specifically for RWAs. I think majority of the chains are focusing on many general areas. We are accessible. We are focusing on our own security. We are really independent on our own chain. So we choose that approach. It's a bold decision, as you said. It's a lot of resources, a lot of focus, but I think we are doing a great job of becoming the ledger of RWAs.
Okay, that's a very ambitious statement. So let's move a little bit from RWAs to the crypto industry agenda, and again, the institutional adoption. At Gate Ventures, we believe that 2025 is definitely going to be the year where more and more institutions are going to come and start making big waves. Of course, we know ETFs are getting approved. Trump got elected, which will definitely ease the regulations for US and then consequently for the rest of the world. So my question is, it's more like an open discussion. How do you see the world being affected with what's happening in the US, with probably regulations being eased up, and then institutions coming into the market, especially through RWA industry?
I think everything is going in a very good direction, and I think it brings a lot of hope. When I hear, the nominated CES, Mr. Paul Atkins, I think he's a reasonable man that's going to bring a reasonable regulatory framework for crypto that I think all the moving parts, stakeholders in the ecosystem will leverage from. Of course, ETFs, Ethereum staking coming in, which is a critical part of the DeFi ecosystem, right? This is bringing actually a lot of positivity, a lot of opportunities for the mass adoption as well as institutional investors, which are heavily evolved around the regulatory framework. So I think very exciting days ahead. I mean, we can see it from the reaction in the market, right? And this is just the start. I think starting from mid-January, we will see more measurable actions coming in. And that's going to be like a speed of light, I assume, way faster than we accepted. So we are all very excited about steps taking place in the US, especially considering them, using Bitcoin as a US treasury. It's very exciting. So I'm very looking forward to it.
Okay, so good year 2025. What are the other trends and narratives besides RWA you see emerging and focusing? Like we have here DePIN, we have DeFi. Is going to be maybe another DeFi summer next year? What do you see as these next big things that people, especially in the audience, need to focus on?
Look, I think it's going to be RWA summer. Well, look,
Besides the RWA, that one we know is big.
I think with the growth of this strong, scalable layer ones and the ecosystems that are being built upon these layer ones, either you call it DeFi protocols, RWA projects, DePIN, all that stuff, I think, going to merge, especially by leveraging the AI agents and bringing out interesting tools and modules that can also help with the risk management, because still when you look at it, over collateralization, volatility of the industry, these are all risks, right? So I think AI taking a place and strong layer ones merged with DeFi and RWAs, it's going to be a blended financial ecosystem where it's going to be easier to join, maybe less volatile day by day. And I'm very excited to watch this, participate in this. I think it's very interesting days ahead with this revolution of technology merged with the financial instruments. So I think these DeFi and RWA space will merge and grow hand by hand. So
yeah. While Ekin was speaking, I pull up this very interesting image with insights from A16Z Crypto, big ideas of 2025. If anyone is around, I highly recommend to grab me after this panel and take this image from me. But basically, what they're saying, the next big ideas for 2025 that everyone's going to be making money is AI agent and crypto wallets, decentralized autonomous chatbots, then proof of personhood, enhanced information aggregation, in enterprise adoption of stable coins, and this is where RWA, I think, plays a very, very big role, infrastructure reusability, and transition from ownership to usage. So what we see from all of these bets that A16Z is making, that it's going to be less about memes, less about gaming, and more about bringing that adoption not just within the small group of Web3 that already has crypto, use crypto every day, but really bringing the Web2 crowd to Web3. And here is an open question. How can we, who are already in the space, who are bullish on Bitcoin, ask our friends, our parents, our relatives to take a look what is happening in the space and see the opportunities it can bring to them?
I mean, Laura, that's a great question. Until my mom uses a Web3 wallet, the mass adoption will never happen, right?
So your mom doesn't use a wallet?
No,
I actually created a wallet to my mom. I think it was her birthday. I was like, Mom, I'm going to give you, I think it was like $500 as a present, but I'm going to send it in crypto. And her birthday was in May. So right now, she's very happy with the amount I sent her.
That's amazing. So look, I think the secret sauce for the mass adoption, like as we call, 1 billion users, like the iPhone revolution did, how are we going to bring this on Web3, lies on obviously few dynamics. I think one of the critical pieces is improving the UI and UX. Focusing on onboarding platforms properly, right? So I think there is a bit of a gap compared to the advancements that we see in Web2, obviously many years of using them. Onboardings, customer support, much better user-friendly interfaces, I think Web3 wallets lack of. And when we put our most valuable things, right, money and stuff, you have a heartbeat, like if anything goes wrong, what the hell? Oh my God, is it gone? Is it done now? So we have to bring that feeling of trust, user-friendly onboarding, education. These all needs to take place, right? And then obviously focusing on regulatory compliance, but still making onboarding, registration, wallet access easy. I think these are very important. Of course, when we talk about especially RWAs and all that stuff, oracles, right? So we highly rely on the durability, accuracy of the oracles. Oracles are the ones that's going to bring the accurate data for the valuation and for many other things. So the growth in the oracles will also bring the data, right? And the data brings the users, and all this is going to be all hand in hand to bring, I think, the mass adoption to Web3. I think we are still at the early stages, but the road is promising.
when we talk about mass adoption and Web 2, the normies coming to Web 3, and someone's super bullish, I always ask one question. Let's say you have USDT, any kind of stable coin on Arbitrum or whatever other chain you have, and you want to move, let's say, from Arbitrum to Ethereum or to Solana. What's the easiest way to do? How do you do it? What's the easiest way? And of course, everyone's like, oh, we need to use a bridge. We need to use Uniswap. And I'm like, how much will we pay in gas fees and in swap fees? And it's going to be what? If you have $500 to $1,000, you might pay $30, $50 sometimes if the market is really congested. Whereas if you send the money to a simple exchange like Binance, Gate.io, you're going to do it for $1, $2. So what kind of DeFi adoptions are we talking about if it's so complicated and expensive for someone just do a cross-chain transaction? So I personally believe, and I'm very bullish on the products that are doing all of these swaps, bridges in a very simple, easy way that everyone, even like our mothers, could do that. Because until it's going to be so complicated to get your crypto, use it, move it, they're not going to come. Like even right now, when I, being in a space in 2016, are trying to do some sort of transaction, let's say I need to stake my token somewhere, I need to move them. It takes me 15, 20 minutes of hassle trying to see where is my wallet, is it the right wallet, am I connected? We need to make entry point and usage as simple as possible. Why iPhone, for example, became the most popular phone? Because it was simple. When we use Android, you would crash. There would be so many different functions that you need. iPhone was like, you don't need anything. Here are the 5 apps. Everything works. They're at almost $1 trillion business. So simple to use products will outperform in the current market. And that's going to be the gateway to bring Web2 to Web3. And as we have the last 2 minutes of our fireside chat, let's finish it with one piece of advice. If you would be starting whatever you're doing right now from the scratch, like you have nothing, you just have an idea, and you need to start all over again, what would be the one thing you would do differently? What was the biggest lesson you have learned building Mantra?
I have to think about that question. There are many lessons
There
learned,
are no
right?
easy questions with
There's
me.
no First, you have to set the macro level of the goal that you want to solve, because there is a lot of pain points, especially for Mantra. When it comes to RWAs, sky is the limit. You can tokenize everything. But what is really needed to pain point the industry and really bring the mass adoption, right? So that's where we focus. That's actually where the layer 1, building the layer 1, which was a very bold move, focusing on RWAs, targeting the institutional investors. But how are we going to target? So defining that funnel of that ideation and really believing in your strategy is the hardest, the most time consuming. However, the light of that funnel will light you through the whole journey, because once you can't get that right, the re-engineering of fixing things is gonna cost you much more.
You know, if crypto fails, you can go for politics. That's the most
really
proper political answer I can receive.
By the way, I'm very new to the crypto. Like, it's just been a year, and
Well,
I'm just learning. So I'm
well, you're
adapting.
doing great. So,
Thank you.
last 30 seconds, my piece of advice, if I would be starting all over again, is understand, again, very, in a sense, understand micro and macro. We're in a bull market right now. Everything is pumping. Everyone is making backs. Don't get swayed away of these big highs, because one day everything is going to crash, and you need to buy in a bear market and sell in a bull market, not the other way around.
Nobody gets poor when they take profits, right?
Yes. Take profits, buy your parents a house, go for holiday, make connections, and just enjoy life. rather than buy. It's not a buy time right now.
Invest in RWAs with your stable coin like a traditional finance guy
Yes,
would
and
do.
buy gold as well.
Leverage the blockchain technology, you know?
And with this, I should say thank you to amazing Fireside partner of mine. I think he deserves a very big round of applause.
Laura, you're too kind, and I congratulate you as well. Thank you guys for
Thank
listening.
you.